This one was taken down in the 70s because it had structural issues. Probably in better shape than some of the buildings are now. They took it down in the 70s. So that's the only building that you haven't seen. You walk past the rest of them, pretty much. So, any questions about that? No? Pennhurst closed. It was ordered closed in 1977 by Judge Broderick. It was because of a lawsuit. The woman that filed it was Terry Lee Halderman's mother. She filed it on behalf of her daughter and the people that lived here. She wanted to get more help for her client, and she wanted to get more funding. Fortunately, it kind of backfired, and it was ordered closed. Judge Broderick ordered it closed for numerous reasons. You can get on and read all of them, but the main reason that Pennhurst shut down was because of civil rights being violated. They didn't have the right to their own doctors, or their own nurses, or their own schooling, or their own anything, because everything was provided here. So that was why Pennhurst was ordered closed. There's a whole lot to it. Feel free to read it all. I don't have time to go through it all. Some of it was kind of silly. They said there wasn't a psychiatrist on duty 11 to 7. Well, there was 8 nurses on duty, and there was a doctor on duty, but there wasn't a psychiatrist, but they were supposed to be sleeping. But in here again, I take almost any one of you, if you call your psychiatrist in the middle of the night, you're going to get the same recording everybody else would get, where if this is a medical emergency, dial 911, but if not, the business hours are. So that one was kind of silly, but there were other things that were important, and when they did it, the end result of that ruling is also the Pennhurst Doctrine, which is why there are people that are entitled to rights today, because y'all probably saw people that were handicapped in your schools. When I went to school, they did not make provisions for people that were handicapped. Nobody. It was like if you were handicapped or you were, mentally retarded or whatever, it was too bad. You don't get to go to school. So imagine the frustration of people that had children that there was no way to get any help. There was no way to get a break from them. It's a 24-hour-a-day job, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Because I know when I started, I thought, gee, how could you put your kid in a place like an institution? And when you worked with them long enough, you understood, because I got to go home after 8 hours, but parents didn't. And when Pennhurst was being closed, there was still almost 1,000-person waiting list to get in. So, as a result, though, of Pennhurst closing, and Judge Broderick ordered them to all go out to community living arrangements, which are now group homes. They didn't have enough at that time, because it was just something that was new, because deinstitutionalization was the thing that just started. So that was something that held up the closing of Pennhurst. It took 10 years to close, because they didn't just open the doors and set them loose, because they had needs. So you couldn't just say, oh, you're free, because guys on this were profound. So there was no way that they could have functioned on the outside without having supervision.
Can I ask you a question now related to the map? You can even tell on the map how close houses are to Pennhurst. What was the relationship in the community to the institution?
They were involved all the time. They used to have a marching band. They had things there. We had volunteer grandmothers. We had volunteer. The young girls were called candy stripers. They had Special Olympics here. The town of Royersford had a park. The amusement park is not there anymore, but they used to close it and have Pennhurst Day. It was closed to the public, but open to Pennhurst residents and their families. So the surrounding towns were involved, and they did things in their church groups. The people here also, the brighter people that lived here, went to towns all the time. Some of them worked in the towns, and then they came back here and they rented rooms on the 3rd floor. It was total involvement. This wasn't a place that nobody ever came to. I went out to churches with them, I went out to synagogue with them, and these were my low functioning people. I went out with them. And then during day shift, they'd take them out to ball games, they'd take them to basketball, football, baseball. Actually, we lost one of our people in Veterans Stadium, which was not a good thing, but they found him. Actually, he was one of the people I worked with on Quaker Hall too. They were the hyperactive bad boys of Pennhurst. And he was a severe biter. And they were very concerned when they lost him, because the one guy that used to gouge eyes out had an outbreak, so they all kind of converged on him. The other guy just wandered away. So rather than, they were hoping that somebody wasn't going to say, yo, get out of my seat, dude, because they were afraid he would get bit. So they did catch him, he probably was autistic, he used to go like this all the time, somebody caught him around the corner of their eye doing this, and that's how they filmed him. So, thank God without an incident, so, but they did go out, they went out, people came in, so does that answer your question?
Yeah, so you're saying highly positive.
Yeah, as far as that goes, yeah. You'll see on the pictures on the corner, there was stuff. People also used to hire people, there were the brighter, and I forgot that terminology until I went down into Pennhurst to the museum and they were talking about the low grades and the high grades. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that terminology, because I've been out of here for quite a few years too. But they would hire the high grade girls to do housekeeping out in the community too. So they were definitely all involved. If they could do some kind of work where they could hire them, they would do that.
Thank you.
So, the people that you see that look normal in the pictures, they probably were, because this was open from 1908, so you had the big influenza that came through the whole United States, that was like 16 to 18, so tons of people died from that, tons of people died from tuberculosis. You had the Depression years where people could not take care of their children, and you had World War I and World War II, so you did have a lot of orphans that would come through this door. They would get minimal schooling, it was in the college education here. My mother-in-law is 87 and she only went to 6th grade, which was the norm for that time. And she went out and got a job. So the people that were here also got a skill, and with that skill, they learned to take it with them when they left, because at 21 they were no longer wards of the state. Are you waiting for this group? He's hiding, right? You guys waiting for this group? Okay, just checking. So those people.
Knowledge. No, John, I was just saying, the people here got a better education than I did because I learned how to do math, not an actual trade.
See that? So, and here again, in the United States at the time when they were leaving the institution, there were jobs, not like today, because now everything's made in China and Taiwan and Korea and everything. We had factories where these people, while it also benefited them to learn it, it also benefited the institution, because institutions were self-sufficient at one time. So whether it had to do with the farming or the things that they produced and sold, it ended up helping the institution to function and therefore helping them. So when they stopped having children here, mid-70s, it was no longer called Pennhurst State School and Hospital, it was called Pennhurst Center, and they were all adults up until the time it closed. So it closed October 27th, 1987. Any other questions about anything? Go ahead.
Did you feel like at times, did you have like trouble like with the patients itself? Did you feel like there were times where you felt like you weren't helping? Or you felt like there were times where maybe their needs weren't being attended to, or like you were having a lot of trouble with like certain patients or anything like that?
No, you know what we had more issues with, you couldn't take the time to do the things you wanted to do with them. We had 48 men on here, 3 people to get them up in the morning. So if little Johnny could be taught how to button his buttons, I couldn't teach him how to button his buttons. Day shift could do that, but I couldn't do that. So that was frustrating to us, because you also had to kind of hurry them along, so you couldn't we tried to let the people that could do their own stuff do it, but if it got down to, by day shift coming in, we had from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock to have 48 men sitting in this area, dressed and in wheelchairs waiting to be fed. So we had 1 hour to do this, and I don't care how many times during the night you specialed, somebody was always wet, somebody always had feces, you had to clean. So along with doing all that and getting them dressed and getting them here, you didn't have time to teach little Johnny how to button his buttons. It was like, you got your shirt on, good, let me button your buttons. Put them in here. You know, that was kind of the level of frustration that we had, because you couldn't work with them like you wanted to. Day shift, they did. They had PT, OT, they had all kind of things going on during day shift. We didn't have the opportunity to do what we wanted to do on other shifts all the time. So, but like I said, they were cared for. We got them dressed, we got them up, and we got their private clothing and their private sheets downstairs in the washers before we left. It was a little hectic, but we did it. So, you guys have any other questions about anything? Well, feel free to walk around. You can walk out that way. I don't know if anybody's here yet.